Hi guys, my name is Natalie and I'm here in the coastal pool at the Houston Zoo. So July is really special for us at the Houston Zoo, and this week specifically is extra special. So for those of you that don't know, we've been celebrating Plastic-Free July here at the zoo all month, but this week specifically is National Zookeeper Week. So we've been celebrating our zookeepers a little bit extra this week. They do a lot of hard work to keep all of our animals here safe and happy. So in the pool right now we have two pelicans off to the side here. And they are brown pelicans. So you can see these pelicans all over the United States, but particularly down here in Galveston, we see them year-round. They don't really need to migrate from Galveston. They can if they want to. It's kind of a preference thing for some of them. So you may see them right now in Galveston, especially now that it's warm and sunny. A lot of pelicans are very smart, and they've also learned how to beg fishermen for fish, and so they'll come up on the docks quite frequently and ask for fish from people. So one of the really big things that we like to talk about with all of our coastal birds here, so as you can see we've got two pelicans and we've got a laughing gull here, which you've probably seen all over the place. We get them here in Houston sometimes too. And we like to talk about plastic with all of our coastal birds. So one of the big things that affects them in the wild is all the plastic pollution. So birds frequently get caught up in plastic. So recycling is a really big way to help them out in the wild. There's also plenty of other things you can do. And one of the things that we as zookeepers like to do for Plastic-Free July is kind of focus on like one thing that we can replace throughout the year. So not necessarily recycling, but actually taking that plastic completely out of our lives. So here at the zoo, you'll notice we don't have any plastic straws. So we try to take those out of the equation. Plastic straws are one of the big things that end up in the ocean. And they don't typically affect our birds directly, but they do affect sea turtles, and they also affect a lot of fish, and that is the primary diet of a lot of our coastal birds like Skippy, our laughing gull, and our pelicans, Levy and Thurston. They only really eat fish. So if the fish are being polluted with plastic and they're getting really sick from ingesting plastic or getting stuck in plastic, then our pelicans don't really have anything to eat. Just part of the reason that you may see them up on the beach begging from people for food, but that's not really great for their diet. And it's also just not great for them in general. They lose a lot of their natural instincts on hunting and things like that. So you can see our pelicans right now, they have those really long, cool beaks that they kind of keep tucked down. So during their off times, they'll keep them tucked down like that because they have a really big flap underneath, and they use that for hunting. So they'll actually dive from about anywhere in the air, but sometimes up to 60 feet high. They'll dive straight down into the water and take a big gulp of water and fish. And their beaks are really cool because they're built in a specific way that they can fill their entire throat up with water, and they tip their beaks down towards the ground and they can drain all that water out, just leaving them with the fish. So they're actually really good hunters, and they're specialized in what they do. So our little laughing gull over there would also eat mostly fish. I know you guys have seen them on the beach. They frequently beg for food as well. But fish is really what they're supposed to be eating. So Skippy gets a bunch of different kinds of fish. He gets smelt and capelin primarily, but he also eats some shrimp in the wild. He might even find some like small crabs to eat, as would our pelicans. So they would primarily eat large fish, but every now and then they'll find some like crunchy crabs to crunch on, just like you might want some chips every now and then. They like a little extra snack too. So there are a couple different kinds of pelicans. If you can hear that laughing noise, that is our laughing gull, Skippy. During this time of the year, he kind of likes to call out to his little girlfriends that hang out around this area. That is frequently how he makes contact with other gulls. So every now and then, if you're in the children's zoo in this area, you may see another gull hanging out around up at the top. She does come all the time to steal fish from Skippy. Not even steal sometimes. Skippy likes to offer them to his girlfriend sometimes too. So we keep our coastal pool really clean. As you can see, there's obviously no plastic floating in it. But in the waterways that they hang out in, you may see plastic. So that is one thing that the zoo does really well. They take great care to go out to the beaches and the waterways and help clean up. We do some projects throughout the year where we clean up the beaches, try to take all the plastic off, which is really helpful for these guys. So you would never guess it, because now there's tons of pelicans all over the place. But there was a point in time in the like 70s and 80s where you couldn't see them very often, and they actually had gotten really close to like extinction. And the main issue with that was that we were having a lot of pollution issues from pesticides. So there was actually a couple of legislations that went through to help regulate that. And as you can see now, when you're at the beach, we have tons of pelicans. They've kind of come back. But the best way to keep them safe in the wild now is to make sure that you are picking up after yourself at the beach. So you may have seen them. I think we panned over to them a few seconds ago, but we do have some ducks in this pond too. So we have 4 little ruddy ducks. You can see 3 of them. Oh, there's the 4th one. She just popped up. So they are actually diving ducks. So they're really good at diving. They'll dive all the way down to the bottom and kind of skim the bottom for algae, plants, sometimes fish, whatever they can find really. And they're really cool. They show dimorphism really well, which just means that the males look different than the females. So there's 2 boys, and they have those really bright blue beaks. And that's something that they've evolved for breeding. So it's kind of how they show off to the girls. They've got these really bright blue beaks, and when they're in breeding season, they'll kind of smack them against their side and create bubbles in the pool. And that's what the girls really like, is all the bubbles. So we have 2 boys and 2 girls. And just like most birds, they do lay eggs, so we have to pull their eggs out frequently. But here at the zoo, they get fed a waterfowl variety, which is just like dog food, but for ducks. And it's specially formulated for them to have all the things they need. And they get some greens, and they get some fish every now and then. Primarily, they like to steal the fish from the pelicans. So they're a lot feistier than they look. They're pretty little, and you can see one of them just dove under. And they can actually hold their breath for several seconds so they can hit the bottom and come back up. So you'll see she'll stay down for a little while. So we're going to head over and we're going to see our North American river otters. They're another animal that you can see in Texas. So we have 2 North American river otters here at the Houston Zoo. And they do this frequently. They like to lounge up on the rockwork. And he's actually looking to see if I've got any cool stuff to throw in for him. So I do have some stuff we're going to actually throw in at the bottom, so you can see if they're going to play with it. I've got some feathers and some palm fronds, which are things that they would find in the wild to play with too. So I'm actually going to throw them down here by the window so you can see them if they want to come out. Oh, there we go. So they really like feathers. It's just something they like to interact with. It's a different scent, and it's also a different texture. He's actually staring at these palm fronds, so I'm going to go ahead and throw these in as well. So otters in general are very playful animals, and you can see that he clearly likes to hang out with all the things. So this is Jack. He's our male otter. We do have a female otter. She's a little bit older than Jack though, so she's more about the lounging, and Jack's more about the playing at this point in his life. He's fairly young. So as he's walking around, you can see they kind of walk in like a squatted position. Their legs are fairly short, and that's just because they do spend a lot of their time in the water. So having that slender body helps them be really fast, makes them a little more streamlined. You can also see he's got that really long tail as well, and that's just to help direct him in the water. So kind of like the way you would steer a boat, they have the paddle in the back. So he would just turn that the way he wants to turn in the water. It looks like he's going back to get in the water. So they do spend most of their time in the water. This is where you would see them. And we do have them in Texas in the area. They're a little harder to spot because they do blend in really well. They're super fast and they like to stay hidden. So as you can imagine, they're not super big. This is a full-grown otter. So they're about 3 to 4 feet long. So they've got some predators here in Texas like bobcats, cougars sometimes, things like that. So they like to stay really well hidden. And they also want to stay really well hidden from their prey items. So they do primarily eat fish. They have been known to eat eggs and like small lizards and things like that. So they'll get those every now and then, but their main diet consists of fish. So here at the Houston Zoo, we do have a really big pool system that our otters like to play in. And Jack loves being in the water. So Trezana asked, do they like to be on land? So they don't not like to be on land, they just prefer to be in the water. But you'll see our otters here at the zoo frequently do go up on the rockwork and sleep and sunbathe. So their coats are really cool. They're actually very, very thick, and they're built to keep their skin really dry. But that hair does take a little bit of time to dry out. So every now and then they'll get up on the beach and sunbathe and dry out their fur. Their dens are also primarily on land, but they will keep them really close to water. Frequently they'll have entrances into their den from the land or from water, so they can kind of get in however they want. And that's just in case they do need to get away from their predators, so alligators, bobcats, anything like that that's bigger than them. So in the wild, otters would typically live alone or in pairs. So otter here lives in a pair. They would socialize with other otter groups. So our otters are very social here at the zoo. They like to hang out with each other all the time. So it looks like Jack's playing a little hide and seek. He's probably around the other side, but he'll come back over here in a minute. So our pools here at the Houston Zoo are taken care of by an LSS team and our zoo staff. So one of the cool things about zookeepers and being here in National Zookeeper Week, we like to talk a lot about our zookeepers, but our zookeepers do everything. We take care of our water systems with the help of our LSS team. We prepare diets in the morning with help of animal nutrition. We do things like take care of health issues with the help of our vets. Oh, it looks like we brought one of our feathers into the pool to play with. So zookeepers do a lot every day for our animals. So if you see one this week, make sure you tell them thank you. So Alexi asked, do they crack things on their chests like sea otters do? So river otters don't typically crack things. There's not a whole lot of things in rivers that they can crack. Every now and then they get a hold of like freshwater clams and mussels. They're more likely to crack them with like rocks as opposed to like on their chest. And that's just because they have a lot easier access to land, whereas sea otters would be kind of in the ocean. It's a lot harder to go all the way back to the beach when you need to crack something as opposed to river otters who can go to the shore. So Trezana asks, what is LSS? That's just an acronym for our Life Support Systems team. And it's just the people that take care of all of our water systems. So they do a really good job. If you haven't been yet to see the Pontinel exhibit, it is incredible. And our LSS team did a wonderful job working on that huge water system. So the water system in Pontinel is really cool because it flows through all of the exhibits. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of really fancy systems that we're very thankful that our LSS team has taken on so that we as zookeepers can focus on our animal care a little more. So otters in general are really playful. We actually enrich them all day, every day. They get feeding enrichment, so when they come out to do their feeding, we frequently train them at almost every session. And they do a lot of different things during their training. I know Belle Otter likes to stand. She knows how to turn in circles. She also is injection trained, which is important for us. So Lauren asked, how can we help save them in the wild? And that is my favorite question that we get. So in the wild, the best way to help save them is to keep their waters clean. So one of the main issues that they have right now in terms of habitat issues is pollution. So keeping plastic out of the water is a really great way to help save them in the wild. And you can do that in a bunch of different ways, through recycling or cutting out plastic straws or just everyday switches. Like some of our zookeepers have switched to, they're called shampoo bars, so we don't have to buy the plastic shampoo bottles anymore. And that's a really great thing that we do here at the zoo is we participate in Plastic Free July, and that just gives us opportunities all month to help improve the way that we live so that we can live and coexist with animals in the wild. So you can see Jack really likes the feathers. He's going to carry that around with him for a long time. So in the wild, like I said, they would be found in either solos or pairs, but they would meet up with other otters and socialize. But typically hunting and things like that they would do on their own or with their mate. And as far as hunting goes, they would primarily grab things with their mouth. They do have very sharp canines like most carnivores would. But they do also have some claws, so if they needed to grab things, they can grab them with their hands as well. So we just wanted to say thank you from everyone here at the zoo for tuning in with us today. And don't forget that it's National Zookeeper Week and Plastic Free July, so whenever you're at the zoo, feel free to celebrate with any of us that are here and join us next Wednesday at 11 a.m. for another Facebook Live. Thanks, guys.